So today is Father's Day, and if you guys follow me on Instagram, you may remember that I made my mom a Mother's Day dessert. It was basically an elevated version of one of her favorite desserts. So for today, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna make my dad's favorite dessert, and I'm gonna elevate it. And that dessert is the tiramisu. To elevate it, I'm going to make a tiramisu mousse dome. Basically a cake with some mousse. I'm gonna make two different types of mousses on top, and it's all gonna be in a nice dome. So let's get started by making the cake. To start on the cake, I'm going to do the wet ingredients. So I have here 4 ounces of milk, 5 egg whites, 4 ounces of sour cream, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. So now I'm just gonna basically combine it all together. I'm just gonna go ahead and switch to a bigger bowl. This is too small. Once it's all whisked together, set this aside, we'll move on to the dry ingredients. Got my stand mixer here. This will be for the dry ingredients. You know what, also, I like to thank Preppy Kitchen for this cake recipe because I have no clue how a tiramisu cake is different than any other kind of cake. So thanks a lot, Preppy Kitchen. Your stuff is always amazing. So in the mixer, I'm going to combine this sifted cake flour. I have baking powder, which I'm going to sift in the flour, which if you guys don't know, it's basically 24 ounces of cake flour and 2 teaspoons of baking powder. So what I have right here is basically 16 ounces of sugar. Now I have here 3/4 teaspoons of salt. Now on low speed, just combine the dry ingredients. Now I have right here a stick of butter, and basically I'm gonna incorporate it into the dry ingredients 1 tablespoon at a time. So as you can see, I have 1 tablespoon of butter. Put it in there. And just know your butter needs to be very, very soft. Now you basically want this to mix until it starts coming out as a very coarse crumbs all around the bowl. That will tell you that the butter is combined. Whew. That just happened. Nothing happened. Clearly don't do what I just did right there. So, you may not see it too well, but it's sort of coming a little coarse right now. That basically will tell you that the butter is really well incorporated into the dry ingredients. So with that done and ready, it's time to add the wets. So on low speed, I'm gonna add about half of my wet ingredients, and then I'm gonna whip that up until it's nice combined. And by whipped, I mean mixed. All right, so I'm gonna stop right there. I'll let this mix for a bit. With that, I'm gonna stop here and I'm just gonna start scraping the bowl a little bit. Hopefully when I add the rest of this milk, it's gonna come together as a batter. So in goes the rest. So now I'm going to increase the speed to up to medium, and then once it gets nice and fluffy, it'll be ready. You might wanna do it for like a minute. Now of course, to make sure that I miss nothing, I'm going to just go ahead and start scraping the bottom of the bowl. Be ready to get baking. I have my cake pans that I'm going to set up. I have here 2 parchment papers, kind of into a circle, perfectly fitted into the cake pans. So I have here just a clump of butter. I'm just gonna rub it around the cake pan, so that way it can officially come out. You know I have the parchment, but this is just in case. Slippery butter. All right, so I got the parchment. I'm just gonna put it on top of here. So now with the butter, I'm gonna go ahead and now rub the parchment. Also the sides, make sure that you get the sides too. That's very important too. Then lastly, have cake flour here. I'm just gonna put cake flour on top of each pan. That way to give it extra slide. This is without a doubt the best way to make sure cakes don't stick, without a doubt. After that, pour that on here. You might want to shake out any kind of excess flour that's in there, because you definitely don't want any chunks of flour on the cake. So that's all good. Now what I like to do, and I'm sure a lot of professionals do this, is that when you're pouring the cake in the pans, you want it to be even. So I have here a scale right here. And I'm basically gonna make sure that each of the cake pans have an even, or at least a close same amount of cake batter. So I got the cake batter right here. So now I'm gonna see if I can get it as even as possible in the pans. So I got these 2 pans filled up, and they each weigh about 27 ounces. So now I know for sure I'll have an even cake. So now I have an offset spatula, and I'm just gonna smooth down the cake and let the top be as even as I can get it. So you can just go ahead and leave the spatula on like this and just flatten out with an even pressure. Got the cakes nice and even. The oven is set to 350 degrees and I'm gonna bake it for 35 minutes. So while the cake is now baking, I'm gonna now make the mascarpone mousse, one of two mousses. So I have right here 16 ounces of mascarpone right here. Now I'm gonna take 8 ounces of sugar, just pour it in there. So I'm just gonna whisk this up until it's nice and combined. Actually, you know what? Okay, this is way better. So now I have here 3 egg yolks. I'm gonna go ahead and combine here. This will be a nice thickener. This is whipped egg whites, which I basically just took my mixer and then just whisk it as much as I can until it reaches stiff peaks. Then I have a whipped cream here, which I painfully mixed by hand, but it's totally worth it because it's now nice and stiff. And I'm just gonna basically fold it all together. This whipped cream will basically give a nice, an already nice creaminess, but also some body too. Now the egg whites. The egg whites will help give some stability for the mousse, which is important because I'm going to be putting it on a mold and it needs to hold itself. As you can see, nice and incorporated. I'm going to try it right now. You can definitely taste the mascarpone, so I think it's perfect. Just going to put this in this bowl right here. Now that the first mousse is done, I'm going to move on to my next mousse, which is fairly simple. So let's get to that. Now for my second mousse, I will be making a coffee mousse. So right here, I have 8 ounces of cream cheese, and I have 16 ounces of powdered sugar. I'm gonna whisk it well until it's well combined. Okay, so apparently it was actually a lot harder than I thought to mix together cream cheese and powdered sugar by hand. So I just basically went to my mixer and then just whipped the cream cheese and the sugar. And as you can see, it's nice and combined. So got that. So now I have here some, oh no. Let's start with this. 2 tablespoons of coffee granules. This is basically instant espresso. So basically I'm just gonna pour it in here and I'm just gonna fold it in. So now I have whipped cream. I'm just gonna fold this in as well. This will make it creamier and also give it a lightness. This makes it a lot easier to fold. All right, let's see. It's a nice coffee flavor. So I have both my mousses done. I'm now gonna pipe it onto the silicone mat here. As you can see, it has a dome shape. Once it's done with that, I'm gonna go ahead, put it in the freezer, and hopefully it will set. So first I got my mascarpone mousse. Now I got my coffee mousse. And lastly, before I put it in the freezer, I'm gonna take my spatula, I'm just gonna smooth at the top, so that way it can just lay nice and flat on top of my cake. Now, into the freezer you'll go for a couple of hours really. So right here, I have a type of dough, and basically what this dough will be is a nice garnish to put on top of the mousse. You'll see what it is, and I'll also put up a video on how I made this one, because it's very simple to make. So right now, put the sheet tray aside. I'll be using this for this. So what I'm gonna do, this has been in the fridge for a long time, so now it's nice and pliable. So I'm gonna just gently peel this. Then I got a pizza cutter right here, and I'm gonna basically make a long strip. So now I'm gonna put this in the oven, 400 degrees, for about 10 minutes until it's nice and golden brown and it's all flat and connected. So now we're onto the cake. So when the cakes were done, I took them out of the oven, I let them cool, and then I cut the tops off and then cut the cake in half to an exact thickness because the cake itself was just a little too thick. And then with a parchment paper, I cut into a circle, cut the cake into a proper shape that's gonna fit on the bottom of the mousse. So now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna now soak them in coffee because as you know in tiramisu, you basically soak any baked item with coffee. But I'm gonna put in some brown sugar just to give it a nice thick sweetness. So now I have 3 of my cakes right here. Now I'm gonna just pour the coffee on top. Just let it soak. We'll let these soak for a couple seconds. I'm gonna go ahead and get my plate ready. All right, now I'm gonna get the plating. So for the plate, obviously I'm gonna go pretty fancy fine dining with it. So what I'm gonna do, have paper towel here. I'm gonna put it about right in the middle of this plate right here. Now I have here some cocoa powder. I'm just gonna basically sift on the plate. Then once I remove the towel, as you can see, it'll give a nice straight line. So now my cake is nice and soaked. I'm gonna gently take it, just put it right here. So now I got the mousse right here. It's been on for a couple of hours. I'm gonna pop them open and hopefully it'll set. I also have gloves on because I don't want my body temperature to be melting around with the dome, because mousse does that time to time. Whew. I have to say it looks pretty good. Now I'm just gonna basically move on to the garnish. All right, so I worked very hard on these garnishes. Once again, I'll show you guys how I do it in the future because it's very, very easy. Handling them is the difficult part. So, I got them done. Now I'm gonna finish this plate off by taking this one, being very gentle. What did I say? Yeah, they're very fragile. So hopefully, oof, they cracked. Okay. Yeah, you see, this is what I'm talking about. All right, so here we go. You gotta be very gentle. All right, there we go. I'm just gonna quickly clean this up and then I'll show the final plating. So, here we go. This is it, the final plating. And now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get my dad, and just like I did last time with my mom on Mother's Day, I'm just gonna reveal to her and have him tell you what he thinks. It is Father's Day anyway, so I'm gonna go get him. All right, so here's my dad right here. So now, you know you love tiramisu. All right, so.
Oh wow.
So go ahead, Tim.
Dipping. Very good one.
Oh, we have to get that crackle in there. Happy Father's Day.
Thank you, buddy.
So I hope you all enjoyed this video. This is my first ever video I've ever recorded on YouTube. This has been a dream of mine, and I guess you can say it's finally coming true, or it's starting to come true. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Happy Father's Day, and see you all in the next one.